I've probably rethought the idea to this video over a few dozen times. After actually getting a version of it that I was somewhat happy with, I couldn't come to edit it due to it feeling too long and too summary heavy. And since Dr. Stone will be getting an anime next year, I figured I wanted to get my thoughts out there now, before everything gets swept up in the vast amount of episode reviews that are going to exist. Truthfully, it didn't help that every new chapter of Dr. Stone had me altering my script due to certain criticisms changing, being added or being removed. Dr. Stone has this ability to make every chapter feel like a huge surge of information. So much happens in the 20 or so little pages that are there, and I've crawled into this sort of love-hate relationship with the series. I think the exaggerated faces are used too often, and overall they get annoying. I think Senku's catchphrase 10 billion% is egregious. I think Tsukasa's antagonistic psychology should have been explored deeper. I think the 100 stories are a double-edged sword in establishing Byakuya's feelings, and thus the overall air of fun, versus keeping the story away from focusing too much on one thing. I don't really like Dr. Stone, but somehow it keeps impressing me with how much I have to alter this just to talk about it. Tsukasa's character is one of the few things that I actually really enjoy about this series. A couple revisions ago I'd be calling him the antagonist, but now he's kind of a hero? Despite all those things I just said I don't like about the series, the idea of restarting society from zero is definitely something I enjoy to see explored, especially in this shonen way. Senku is very much so a genius, and I think that's where some of my problems with him are. I don't feel there's a situation that he would struggle to find himself out of as long as science can be applied to it. And that's kind of why I drifted towards Tsukasa's character. He was a bit more fleshed out early on. His philosophies of society and beliefs of science were pretty much clear, although I think it was just unfortunate that the series seemed to neglect everything about him other than his existence. He became a device solely used to move the plot and nothing more. We don't really get to see how he runs his empire of might, or how others really feel about him from the inside. Sure, there are characters that defect to Senku's Kingdom of Science from Tsukasa's Empire of Might, but they seem to be acting for their own goals rather than to act against Tsukasa's goals. I was afraid of the moment they swiftly ended the confrontation between Tsukasa and Senku, using a sister we've never really heard of before and only hinted at through a story that connects Tsukasa and his prior goals together. I believe there would be no more ability to explore the Empire of Might, Tsukasa's utopia. Tsukasa might even cease to exist as a character and become nothing more than a piece of furniture in the background. And I thought all of this because of my thoughts on the 100 stories. The amount of information they convey seems to be somewhat inconsistent. They were meant to help humanity survive, but I find issue with the villagers figuring out from a single story what a gorilla is without ever seeing one, but not knowing what minerals are, and think turning metals into weapons is some kind of sorcery. It made me a bit afraid for how they might handle the one character I really thought mattered. And truthfully, I still am a little afraid of that. But as of now, they're temporarily freezing Tsukasa, so I guess we'll figure out where that goes and how things look from there. The chapter in which he got frozen offered somewhat of a slight look into how he sees the world now, which I actually really liked. But at the end, I think Dr. Stone is an amalgamation of things. Some of the science it employs makes sense, and other bits might make you shake your head in saying that it's not exactly how it works. And while that's similar to my complaints about Bunny Girl Senpai, I think Dr. Stone is able to get away with it by embracing what it really is in the end. And that's fun. The entire concept of the 100 stories was fun. Even Senku didn't like his own father choosing fun over science. I think it's self-aware of how dumb it can be at times, even though that's not the route I wanted it to take. I saw a really serious possibility when Tsukasa was introduced, but the story didn't really explore it. I still believe that the story neglects Tsukasa more than it should, And he's not the only one I feel that way with. I feel other characters should be getting more spotlight too, but it focuses way too much on Senku. But with the way the story is progressing, we'll soon find out the source of the petrification, and maybe the tone will swing in a different direction, maybe more characters will come to the forefront. I really want to hold out hope with this manga, because there is so much potential in it. Despite all the pieces that I don't like about it, it has me coming back every chapter to see just if and how it can prove me wrong. I want to thank those that have pledged to me on Patreon, especially Justin Chipman.